You come across a lot of different people in life. There's a lot of different characters out there. Unfortunately, we have to deal with these a-holes on a daily basis. But every now and again, we outsmart them. Today on our lounge, let's get some revenge. First, get ready for some Grand Theft Auto. How I got my landlord arrested for auto theft. I used to live in a rental townhome. The place was great. It was run by a big company, but they paid an on-site super to run the office, coordinate repairs, etc. When I moved in, it was this nice older retired couple. A few years later, they moved on and the company hired these two young dudes. They were a-holes. Recent college grads who looked down on the blue-collar tenants, did loud parties all night, generally ignored the grounds, ignored maintenance requests, etc. But that's not how I got them arrested. In addition to renting the townhouse, you could rent a covered spot. If you did, they gave you a hang tag, and if you didn't have the hang tag, you'd get towed. I had the same car, same spot, and same tag the whole time I lived there. One day, I come out and my car is gone. It was towed for no hang tag, but in the pictures the tow company took, it's clearly there. I paid to get it out and complained to the two idiots. They had to call to authorize a tow. Company couldn't just do it on their own. They gave me a half-baked apology. About a week later, same problem. Again, towed for no tag. Again, tag's right there. This time I called the corporate office and complained. After that, it started happening nearly every day. When I talked to the supers about it, they'd just laugh. I knew they were doing it on purpose, so I did some research. The tow company gave me the names of the people who called it in, and it was mostly one guy, but some the other. The tow company wasn't liable because the landlords had called them, so that was out. But I did some research and found out that in my state, calling for a tow when you know it's not a legal tow is Grand Theft Auto, just like if you broke into a car. I also found out you can record conversations in my state without telling the other person. So I went in to meet the two bros to talk about the situation. They told me, on tape, that the first two times were mistakes, but after that, they did it on purpose and would keep doing so until I learned my lesson. They stated that they knew I was okay to park there, but they didn't care. I took that recording and the list of calls to a buddy who's an attorney, and he helped me take it to the local police. Police were more than happy to have a couple felony charges dropped into their laps, so they filed charges and went to arrest them. Corporate fired them the same day, refunded all of my fees for getting my car out of a hawk, and gave me a rental discount for a few months. They both ended up eating the felony and got probation. Last I heard, they weren't able to find decent jobs because of the felonies and also couldn't pay their student loans. Both ended up working construction, which they'd sneered at because that's all they had left. The community has some thoughts. Grilled Chi says, straightforward solution, elegant, obviously they were not taking their role seriously. Good for you. Photonics guy adds, so if they kept on getting the car towed, were they charged with multiple thefts of the same vehicle or just a single theft? Technical Domain adds, not a lawyer, I'm pretty sure each tow counted as a separate Grand Theft Auto charge. Because the owner kept reacquiring possession of the vehicle, a second unauthorized tow is a second instance of unlawfully removing it from them. Therefore, every tow is a separate charge. Zmol42 chimes in, this is literally pro-revenge as you enlisted the professionals all along the way. Towing company, lawyer, police, judges, corporate office, well done. What the heck? What was the lesson to be learned? These guys were just a-holes looking for something to do. A bunch of idiots looking for an easy ride through life. They definitely screwed with the wrong person. I can imagine how frustrating that would have been. Getting your car towed is the worst and so inconvenient. Never mind when people are purposely trying to make your life harder. What a waste of time, OP. Have people ever tried to screw with you this way? How did you get back at them? Meanwhile, up next, secondhand noise pollution, anyone? Neighbor continues to smoke, which pollutes my apartment, so I retaliate with noise pollution. I live in an apartment complex. Neighbor below me continues to smoke, which then blows into my apartment. I can't stand the smell. They've been asked to stop and a complaint lodged with Strata. They live on the bottom floor, so their courtyard extends out a few meters past my balcony, and this is where they sit and smoke. So now I use a Bluetooth speaker angled down at their courtyard, and I play children's highly repetitive songs, The Wiggles, whenever they're out there smoking. I have to shut all the windows since they're smoking, so I can't hear it, so it doesn't bother me, but they don't seem to enjoy it all that much. Edit. To clarify, smoking in all areas of this apartment complex is prohibited under the bylaws. Edit. I live in Australia, not the US. Yes, apartment complexes in Australia can have bylaws like this. Edit. US can also have bylaws against smoking, which is awkward to the person who said, this is why I chose to live in the US, when informed about Australia bylaws. The community reactions start off with Ninja Taco 35. Might I recommend Baby Shark for your next musical choice? Literally the most annoying song of all time. Intro Dictionary joins the conversation. On YouTube, you can find a track about half an hour long called Most Unwanted Music. It's truly unpleasant. Do with that info what you will. Oh, at first, as I was reading this, I was like, well, they're lungs, they can smoke if they want, and it's just super inconvenient for you to have to deal with. But if it's prohibited by the bylaws, then definitely that's not okay to deal with. It shouldn't be your responsibility to have to retaliate. Can you talk to your condo board? What would you do? Next, some slimy dealership service. The car dealerships and trying to upsell you. Took my car in for an oil and filter change. Oil and filter, that's it. Sat waiting in the Toyota lobby for this to get done. For some reason it takes an hour and a half. Guy comes back with my key and proceeds to tell me that the air filters are dirty. Also tells me I need new brakes. We are in the lobby and it is full of people sitting around waiting for their cars also to be finished. I reply to the guy as loud and obnoxiously as I can. I changed the air filter myself, which is located in the glove box at the back, and it was with a carbon filter, hence why it looks black. I had one set of brakes changed toward the tail end of 2020 with ceramic brakes that were rated for 100,000 miles of use, and the other set of brakes were just done this past summer after a trip to Colorado and squeaking that was occurring. That paperwork is also in the glove box if you would like me to dig it out. I cannot stand it when they try to upsell you every time. Also, I went in for an oil and filter change. Why are you looking at my brakes? Let's see how the community reacts to this story. TJW0569 has this to say. I recall the time they tried to upsell me into having the fuel injectors cleaned. I thought that would be hard to do on an engine with a carburetor. Mad Astrid says, took my car to the dealer for an oil change and safety inspection. 3 days passed. They did not call, and all our calls went to voicemail. Never received a return call. Went in, it wasn't done. Claimed I needed new brake pads and new spark plugs. I showed them the receipt from when they had very recently done that service themselves. Asked for the car back. They claimed all the wheels were off and it failed the safety inspection. For broken twilight, I'm guessing that meant taillight. Sent husband in. Wheels miraculously on the car. Taillight miraculously was never broken. Oil not changed. Left and never going back. Should have stayed single one adds, how is this revenge though? The wild card BB1 adds, it's not, they just acted obnoxious. There are at least 5 customers a day that act out when you're doing quick service. The person they yelled at is used to it, doesn't care that you didn't buy anything. They're counting down the hours at a grueling job that pays jack crap. Most dealerships will literally try to get you whenever they can, and it's the most disgusting thing. Literally don't take your car to the dealership for whatever reason. Most of them are slimy. Your best bet is to take it to a small business owner and have them take care of it. You're saving money and you're supporting local businesses. Have a bad dealership experience? Let us know below. Our next OP crashes the party. My summertime revenge. My last apartment was right in the middle of a complex. It's 20 feet from the pool. Over this past summer, there were lots of issues with people staying at the pool literally all day, starting around breakfast time until 2 or 3 a.m. Lots of drugs, alcohol, fights, and loud music every freaking day and night. Cops were called nightly. A flurry of complaints went to the complex management and their corporate overlords with the dismissive meh as their helpful response. Those of us who lived around the pool were at our wits' end until I had a genius idea in late July. There was a party still raging at 1 a.m., so I set up my Bluetooth speaker under a bush, cranked the volume, pushed play, and I hit repeat. It was Baby Shark. It only took one replay to make them leave. I did it again every time a party lasted past midnight. People got the hint pretty quickly and never came back. It was glorious. Different Term 2250 has this to say. Geneva Convention has entered the chat. Reindeer Street chimes in. The complex managers need to set opening hours for the pool, signage, and actually police it. DOP responds, they have signage, locks, and sent us passive-aggressive emails all summer, but that's about all they even bothered to do. I suggest hiring a security guard for overnights, but was told absolutely not. DJ Beaker thinks, it's going to be hard to get loads of people to leave a booze drug pool party during the summer. Oh no, it's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. OP says, my vigilante justice was more effective than the police. Do you have the ability to contact your condo boards? Where are these people? Why is it in your hands to take retaliation? I feel like policies should be in place here. Thoughts? Next time, don't cut in line. Wait your turn. Don't mess with a lady using a walker. My mom was handicapped due to a stroke and she had to use a walker to get anywhere. Her and my dad loved this local seafood restaurant. It was their favorite place to go to dinner. It was a really popular restaurant and was always crowded. It had a long line to get in. We get to the restaurant, my dad drops us off near the front and he goes to park. The line was long as usual to get in. My mom and I waited for what seemed like forever to get to the hostess stand. My dad had come in at this point, and my poor mom had to stand up the entire time because they had no seats to sit and wait. We finally get to the front of the line, and this guy pushes his way to the front and starts yelling that he needs to make a reservation, that the last time he was here, they had screwed up his reservation. Meanwhile, we had waited in this line and finally made it. My poor mom standing up this whole time, and this guy just takes over. The hostess does not say one word to us. She just lets him take over and takes his reservation info for 9 people for the end of the week. She never once said I'm sorry for the wait and told him he had to wait his turn. Nothing. I was so pissed. My parents didn't go out a lot. They would look forward to going to this restaurant so much when they were able to go. It was difficult for my mom to get around with a walker. They usually would wait until one of us could go with them to assist my mom. The guy was so rude, so obnoxious, and so entitled. I was livid. So the next day, I called the restaurant and canceled his reservation. I remembered everything he said and I pretended to be his wife. Lesson to be learned. Don't mess with my mom. God rest her soul. She didn't have many opportunities to enjoy life after her stroke, and that guy messed with her. My only regret is that I couldn't go back the night of the reservation to see his reaction. Edit. Sorry, this is my first post ever and I should have included this. We did have a reservation. However, the line to get to the front to give our name was incredibly long. Normally, she could have sat down on one of the benches while I stood in line, but there were no seats available. No one offered to give her a seat either. She also couldn't sit in the bar because the bar stools were too high for her to get up on. My mom was partially paralyzed from her stroke. It was difficult for her to get around, and I would never ever deny her the opportunity to go to her favorite restaurant. Both my mom and dad knew what I did because I told them. They both laughed and said I was crazy. They both wished they could be there on Friday night to watch his reaction too. DK Mead KU from the community says, I had a similar revenge on somebody that cut the line at a self-service kiosk. He was so rude when I called him out, and the lady behind the counter didn't say anything. When he typed in his number on the screen, you get a text when your order is ready. I noted it down. When I got home at the end of the day, I signed his number up for wake-up calls at 3 a.m. and daily Bible quotes. Coder Joe 1 says, gotta have the walker with a built-in seat to rest on it. Skedalore says, nice revenge, but I'd have changed it to 30 minutes later so that he finally has to wait. OP responds, oh, that was genius. You're so right. I wish I had thought of it back then. There's so much wrong here. If people were decent at all, they should have given your mother their seats so she could sit down. Not only that, but she should have said something to the hostess and even talked to a manager when you're there. I will say, though, that this is a brilliant revenge. I think just more should have been done in the moment. What do you think? Up next, be careful who your neighbors are. I cost my neighbors over $100,000. My neighbors have 9 cars total parked in the street. They always park 2 of those cars in front of my house and won't move them the whole week. We have a regulation where you live that you can't leave your car parked more than 48 hours in the same spot. My neighbors have a pretty big driveway where they can fit 4 cars, but it's always empty. They have told me they don't like to leave their driveway with cars because it looks tacky. Over half the cars they have, they don't even use them. They just use them to save parking spots for themselves. In 2021, I noticed they were building a second unit in the back of their main house. I noticed that they completed the house in under a month. This raised some red flags because it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months with city inspections taking the majority of time. I submitted a ticket with my city through the app and advised them that there might be some illegal residential building without permits. I didn't think of it much until a year later. I noticed my neighbors tearing down their second unit last week. Word got around our block that a city inspector was there making sure everything was being torn down. Based on what the materials and labor they put into their second unit, I cost them over $100,000. The community has some thoughts. First up, Ramen Noodles 620. The driveway things sound stupid. Never thought of it being tacky to have cars parked in a driveway, unless the cars are beaters. Hat of Sky adds, plus it's tacky to have them in the driveway but not the street? Losers. Coder Joe 1 chimes in, accidentally scatter birdseed around their parked cars every day. Darth Later says, saw someone do this every day. I called him Birdman, thought he had a problem. Then I realized the amount of pigeons and seagulls that crap everywhere. And their crap is acidic and eats through paint jobs. DragonNet316 chimes in, are all their cars legally tagged and insured? Do you have a driveway? I feel like as long as your cars are able to park in your driveway, these people aren't really bothering you at all. Sometimes it's best to mind your own business. Yeah, it's annoying as hell. But they aren't hurting you none, are they? Would you have done the same? What do you think of neighbors and street parking? Lastly, the wheels on the bus go round and round. Don't want to use headphones on the bus because you have kids? I'll sing a children's song. This was a few years ago on a 13-hour Greyhound trip when I was in the middle of a material breakdown. These people were listening to music loudly, and if that wasn't bad enough, it was just awful. It was the kind of rap where the only words you can understand are bad words, and they were said frequently. It was driving me nuts, so I tried politely asking them to use headphones. They refused because they had kids and based on the claim the kids needed to be entertained. So I told them to give the kids headphones. This led to me getting cussed out, which led to a heated argument. Another passenger started listening to music loudly just to troll me at this point. I tried to get the bus driver to enforce the rule that says headphones are required to listen to music on the bus. He threatened to dump me on the side of the road instead. I kind of hit my limit at that point and decided to share my misery with the whole bus. I said, okay, since we're not enforcing the rules about not being noisy and using headphones, I'll just sing. Now, it should be noted that while I don't have the best voice, I am a trained vocalist from childhood. I can at least avoid sounding like a strangled cat. If I want to, I didn't want to. I launched into a very loud, hoarse, and off-key rendition of The Song That Never Ends. It took one sing-through for the troll to put headphones in. It took a couple loops before the whole bus was screaming at the other passengers to either put in headphones or turn off their music so that I would shut up. We rode the rest of the way in blissful silence. Boysenberry Unhappy 29 has the first comment. Anybody listening to music on a speaker of any kind in public deserves to be shamed and called out. Darkest Irish Lass says, right? F those guys. I listen to heavy metal and I don't think everyone should have to listen to my death thrash just because I think it's awesome. You're a hero, OP. Trin6948 says, there was an instance in my city a few years back of a similar incident, except that an annoyed woman in question was a trained opera singer. Hilarity ensued. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I feel like sometimes the drama isn't worth it, and it's not worth dying on certain hills. What would you have done? I feel like music with profanity like that isn't okay to be playing on a bus, and I feel like the whole thing caused a lot of chaos. I'm not sure I would have said anything. Am I wrong? Thank you for joining us today on Our Lounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to say regarding today's content, share that with us in the comments below. See you next time.